big red breaking news banner around these parts. I have to imagine that the pulling at the dirt to get it up. Eric Bieniemy returning to the Chiefs for the 2022 NFL season, according to our own Jonathan Jones, who confirms a report from NFL Media that a one-year deal will be struck between the now longtime offensive coordinator and the Kansas City Chiefs. Wilson, your thoughts on Bieniemy returning the breach? Feel free to follow with what the Chiefs need to do this offseason.
It makes sense. I mean, there's familiarity there. I think the question becomes, not that they're back together for another year, that certainly seems reasonable, but what does this mean for Eric Bieniemy in terms of his job prospects as a head coach down the road? Because we don't know the reasons he's not getting hired. There are reports that he doesn't interview well, and maybe that's the case, and maybe this is a year to sort of evaluate that part of his process in terms of taking the step to the next level. But it makes sense that he comes back. There are worse jobs to have as offensive coordinator, even if you're not calling 100% of the plays. If Andy Reid's your boss, but you have Patrick Mahomes, you have Tyreek Hill, you have Jason Kelce. I love the idea of coming back for a year, and maybe it gives the opportunity now to hone those skills you need to take the next step to be a head coach.
I do think the timing here is interesting, that it took a couple of weeks for this to get ironed out. Obviously, Bieniemy's known since probably 3 weeks ago that he was not going to get a head coaching spot because all the jobs were filled. And you just had him kind of hanging out there, not knowing if he was going to be returning as the offensive coordinator. But look, with Patrick Mahomes, this team has gone to multiple straight AFC title games. I can't even think anymore. Brinson, you're throwing me off with your fake rundown. And so it does make sense to bring him back. They've got all their stars coming back. Have another run with Bieniemy, another chance for him to earn a head coaching spot. But also, one move I think they need to make is bring another person back, and that is Orlando Brown. The Chiefs gave up so much compensation to get him in a trade with the Ravens last year that I think they would be crazy to let him walk in free agency. You can't give up that kind of compensation for a one-year rental. So either they need to use the franchise tag on him, preferably you sign him to a long-term deal. But the Chiefs went out of their way last offseason to beef up their offensive line, and you don't want to let one of those key cogs in your offensive line leave after just one season. So I think one of their biggest moves that they need to make sure they get done is get Orlando Brown under contract.
The Chargers, I think I could easily say, build around Justin Herbert and just move on with the day. But one of the things they really missed last year was that second pass rusher with Melvin Ingram gone. And I think, you need to find one more pass rusher to put in across from Joey Bosa to really make that defense dangerous. Chandler Jones, Von Miller, certainly at the top of the class. There's some other guys you could look at as well. But I think that's a key thing for the Chargers to handle this offseason. Wilson, if you were telling the Raiders what to do, what would you have them do this offseason?
Hey, Josh McDaniels the coach. Derek Carr is the quarterback. Let's get Derek Carr some weapons. You have Hunter Renfrow, who's still there. You have Brian Edwards, and that's about it in terms of depth. What about Allen Robinson? What about a fresh start for him? Would that be something that would make him much better than what we saw in recent years in Chicago? What about Breach's guy, A.J. Green, going to Las Vegas to catch some passes and perhaps rejuvenating his career there? I think there are options on the second-level free agent market to find some wide receivers for Derek Carr to complement Renfrow and Edwards, two young players, but two guys who can't do it by themselves in Las Vegas.
And Breach, if you were, or is it, that's no. Wilson, if you're going to do the Broncos, what are the Broncos? What's one thing the Broncos need to do this offseason?
Do whatever it takes to get Aaron Rodgers. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's 3 first-round picks, you send an extra. You send 4 just in case. You need Aaron Rodgers back together with Nathaniel Hackett, the new coach in Denver, because it didn't work with Teddy Bridgewater. It certainly didn't work with Drew Lock. It didn't work with Peyton Manning on the downside of his career at the post-Peyton Manning era when they tried to draft quarterbacks and couldn't find them, the Paxton Lynches of the world. So I think you go out and get Aaron Rodgers and worry about the rest of it later. You sort of take the Rams approach, throw everything at the wall draft pick-wise, get the guys you want, and then move forward in what's an incredibly tough division. With Aaron Rodgers, without it, you don't have a chance.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.